Well, well, I'm back. I'm back. Decided to take a break for a little bit because, frankly, I mean, I was just getting really overwhelmed with everything. But uh, this week, unfortunately, is one of those moments that you can't afford to take a break from. Um, I don't think I need to relay everything that happened, detail for detail, but I also don't think that something like this week should be passed with no commemoration on anyone's part because the title of this stream is completely correct. This is indeed a turning point. Um, as everybody knows, Charlie Kirk unfortunately was gunned down yesterday in cold blood, shot right to the neck. His artery opened up, and just seeing his lifeblood spill out upon what is now holy ground, most definitely the University of um, Nevada or whatever it was, or Utah. Sorry, God. Um, it's really hard to put into words exactly what I'm feeling. Not that anyone asked, but I don't care. It's my stream, so I'm going to talk about it. I first found out about it actually. I was just scrolling Twitter on my lunch break, and I found Steven Crowder saying, "Pray for Charlie Kirk." I was like, "Oh, well, what happened?" Never dreaming that I would see him shot in the neck. Somebody who I've admired for actually many, many, many years. Because my first introduction to conservative thought leaders was Glenn Beck for a while, and then it was Ben Shapiro, then it was Steven Crowder, and then it was people like Benny Johnson and Charlie Kirk. And they are all pretty much as babies first conservative. Crowder less so. I've actually grown to um, really admire Steven Crowder for everything, all the investigative journalism that he's doing, and just the fact that he has been pretty outspoken and unrelentingly so in a time when we desperately need it. But Charlie Kirk is the kind of guy that I go to for you know basic reassurance and basic comfort because because as the oldest in my family is kind of like a big brother. It's kind of nice to have that for a little bit. And sorry, I'm gonna adjust my seat here. It was nice to have. It was nice to see. And to all the clips going around of him just asking questions and having conversations and having dialogue with people was incredibly fun to watch because all he did was ask questions. All he did was ask questions. All I did was try to talk to people. And it's insane that Charlie Kirk is now dead. And I have seen so much death this week on Twitter, and I hate it. I hate the fact that I've seen two people bleed out right now. Two people completely bled out because of some monster that decided that they needed to rob these innocent people of their lifeblood, literally. It was Irina Zarutska, the girl who died on the light rail in Charlotte, North Carolina. That already radicalized me because seeing it's just the epitome of leftist identity politics right there, because you had a beautiful woman who's a Ukrainian refugee, young woman, riding the public transit, getting assaulted by a disgusting animal piece of shit, and who just ended her life right then and there because he decided that he wanted to sit behind a white girl and he wanted to cut her throat or put a knife through her carotid, whatever he did. I still don't really sure exactly where the injury was, but I did see the blood. I did see the aftermath, and I did see the blood seep out. And watching all that was incredibly traumatic for me because not traumatic, but it's hard for me because I saw her look up at her attacker and she no doubt stared right into the pit of hell, looking into the face of demonic possession himself as he walked away saying, "I got that white girl, got that white girl." And I got a lot of people who were, kind of not really calling me out, but they were getting offended by the fact that I was pointing out that there is an entire contingency of people in this world right now, and on specifically on one particular side of the political aisle, who would love nothing more than to have seen this man do more to more people simply because he was a black man and his victim was a white girl. And what made me even more frustrated and disgusted was seeing the other black people around her just run away. Not a single person stopped to help her, not a single person, and not that there could have been anything to happen because it hit the artery. So I mean, you're done after that. Unfortunately, that's it. That's it. But at least she could have died with some hope by having someone come up to her and say, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Didn't happen. Full 15 seconds after she was struck, she's looking around. She's looking around, and the black people around her ran away. And I'm sorry, that's unacceptable and that's ridiculous. And I think that it's indicative of a sick and degenerate culture in general, sick and degenerate culture in general that sees the deaths of people happen right in front of them at all hours of the day at all times and just do not care. And they are too busy in their phones. They just don't want to get involved. It's the bystander effect. As Kitty Genovese, we've heard that time and time again if you watch Boondock Saints. And that was originally very, very difficult. And I went off. I was so angry because I saw this as just a basic symptom of our entire sick culture, and specifically a sick, degenerate black culture. Unfortunately, mainstream black culture that sees white people as subhuman, sees them as less than simply for the color of their skin, because they've been around, because they've been raised by an entire political apparatus that sees them as pawns in their little power grabbing identity politics games. And I'm sorry that mainstream black culture, and especially going through black Twitter, a lot of people did not care about that girl. Did not care. Watched her bleed out and die, and they thought it was okay because she was white. Oh, she must have been an oppressor. She must have been descended from an oppressor. Blah 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 blah. No, you're just a piece of shit. You're just a piece of shit who watched a girl bleed out and die, and you think that that's okay because she's white. I'm sorry. That's it. That's it. That's exactly what was happening on that bus and on that train, and I do not care. I do not care what anyone has to say about it. I don't care if it's racist or not. I'm sorry. If I'm recognizing patterns, I'm recognizing patterns. And it bleeds right into exactly it is a proven pattern where people will get hurt and people will die, and and the media and the mainstream culture is their first instinct is, well, what was the race of the victim? What was the race of the perpetrator? It's disgusting. But then, as if that wasn't bad enough, I see a man that I have admired for many, many years, and especially a man who's actually 2024 election night. I was so incredibly happy that night for obvious reasons because I'm a Trump supporter and never make any apology or secret of that. Not that I did before, but I sure as hell am not going to make any secret of or apology for it now. But Charlie Kirk's reaction was incredible. To see him just be overjoyed and be so relieved, and just to see the biggest grin on his face, to see his wife celebrating with him, because I guarantee you, nobody in the mainstream commentary space had worked harder on Trump's campaign to get Trump elected than Charlie Kirk, because he was going into the belly of the beast, into enemy territory at universities and recruiting voters, talking to voters, getting people registered, getting people galvanized, getting out the vote. Him and Scott Presler both won us the 2024 election. People like Scott Presler were instrumental in winning Pennsylvania, which was huge. Pennsylvania's huge. And the minute Pennsylvania got called, I don't think that's a coincidence. Pennsylvania got called, and Charlie Kirk is sitting there happy as a clam. And I was happy with it. I watched that video over a dozen times, seeing his reaction, and made me so happy to see that. And then I open up X yesterday and I find him shot. I didn't realize the extent of his injuries, but because it was the first video from a distance. And then later on, I found out he'd been airlifted. He had been, rushed to the hospital, and maybe some hope that he might make it out alive. He might be, maybe some hope that he might survive. He might pull through. But then my hopes were shattered whenever I saw a closer up video of the bullet hitting his neck, hitting his vein, and all of a sudden he's wearing a white shirt. So it was unmistakable. I have never looked at a man, looked at somebody, and wondered what their blood looks like. I never wanted to. I never wanted to know what my best friend's blood looks like, or what my brother's blood looks like, or what my parents or mine. I know what mine looks like, but I never wanted to know that about anybody. And I certainly had never wanted to know what it looks like spilling out onto the ground. And I had to see that. The entire world had to see that. And apparently his kid, one of Charlie's kids saw that too. Maybe she was there. And there is a report going around that I don't know if it's true or not, but there's a report going around that the gunshot rang out, single bullet, rifleman from atop a big old 5-story building about 200, 300 yards away. And apparently she was scared from the story. This is what the story goes. I don't really know if it's confirmed. I only heard it from one source, but the noise startled her, so she ran to her dad. The thing is, her dad was dead. He never knew what happened. He probably never knew what happened. All of a sudden, he probably just blinked and woke up in heaven. No idea what happened. It was quick. And I was shocked. Obviously, everyone was shocked. Everyone was sickened. But I really enjoyed watching Charlie's content, really enjoyed the mission of TP USA, how he, Turning Point USA, his company that he grew from the ground up as a little 17-year-old kid activist, and he had dreams and aspirations and he achieved them. He achieved them by the grace of God and the kindness of friends. He achieved them, all of it, and he did very, very well. Incredibly well, as a matter of fact. And it makes me very happy to know that he died doing what he loved, what he was supposed to do, what he felt his mission was. I don't think he would have had it any other way. But it makes me sick, nonetheless, that some piece of human debris, some piece of human garbage, some subhuman demon decided to end his life. We still don't know, because we haven't caught the piece of shit yet. We don't know who he is. We don't know where he went. We don't know why he did it, but we're going to find out. But the thing is, for all the people trying to claim that we don't know the purpose, I mean, I think we can guess what the purpose is. There is absolutely no non-political reason that someone were to take a 30-06 rifle and scribe anti-fascist and pro-trans stuff on the bullet casings and fire it at him. There's no non-political reason that Charlie Kirk had to die. I'm sorry. We know who did. We don't know who did it exactly. We don't know the specific person, but we sure as hell know the type of person who did this. We know. But the great part about it is this whole thing has just galvanized everybody into action. Because for too long, we have indulged an entire apparatus of media, TV, comic books, video games, movies, an entire political party, the dinosaur news networks, who are labeling anyone to the right of Joseph Stalin as Nazis and fascists. Well, what do you do with Nazis and fascists? It's not hard to see how we drew a line straight up from the extremism and the nastiness and the racism of Obama clear down to Charlie Kirk. Because for too long, the right indulged these people's psychopathy. For too long, the right specifically indulged and allowed these people to speak freely and without consequences and demonize anybody, to label anyone, again, the right of Joseph Stalin, fascists and Nazis, and either imply or directly call for the deaths of all of us. The thing is, they could have chosen to target anyone else anyone else who was doing the work that Charlie did, which no one else was, actually. No one else was going on college campuses. No one else was touring them. No one else was getting out the vote. They could have targeted anybody. But they chose Charlie Kirk for some reason, because he was a soft target in a gun-free zone. And I know some of the subhuman demon ghouls are out there trying to pretend that he almost had it coming because he was not a proponent of gun control. Well, bitch, he was in a gun-free zone, shot by a man who was shooting. It was like a fish. It was fish in a barrel. He was in a gun-free zone. So if gun control would have worked, and gun-free zones, which are the hallmark of gun control, if that was truly would have prevented him from getting killed, it would have. But it didn't. Surprise, surprise, you idiots. So in fact, his death still proved you wrong. You tried to use his death as some kind of gotcha against, well, this is the natural progression of someone who's opposed gun control. Yeah, he was in a place where gun control applied and it failed. So not only do you lose the optics battle by killing the only moderate among this entire amongst the entire right-wing intelligentsia, you also killed the guy in a place where your backward ass philosophies, your backward ass ideas are now proven completely and irredeemably wrong. That didn't have to be this way. You didn't have to kill the moderate. And there's nothing that Charlie Kirk said that your average run-of-the-mill conservative doesn't believe. Oh, he happens to believe that having a family and having kids are the best thing that you can do in life. He believed that marriage is between a man and a woman. He believed in the sanctity of marriage. He believed that trans women are not. They believe that trans people are not who they claim to be. That trans men are women and trans women are men. He believed in the distinction of the sexes. He believed that men and women exist and believed that those spaces should be separated. It's all basic bitch conservatism. That's it. And he's sitting down on college campuses within the belly of the beast having conversations about that. He was the only moderate in the room. This is mainstream, run-of-the-mill stuff. And you killed him. You killed the guy who wanted to have a conversation. You killed the guy whose entire shtick was sitting down and discussing things with people. You shot him in cold blood in front of his child. What more proof do you need that the left wants you dead? Because here's the thing. It is Charlie now. Who knows who it's going to be next? It could have been any of us. It could have been me. It could have been one of the dozen people that I stream with on a weekly basis, both on Touchgrass, shout out to Theo Snodgrass, and Iron Oxide, the weekly Rose Gallery. It could have been any one of them. Any one of them. Charlie Kirk is 2 or 3 degrees of separation from any one of us here. In this space, on YouTube, on Twitter, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Talking about what matters to them, about what they believe in, and getting it out, and having discussions with people who may or may not disagree. Doesn't matter. We need to be having discussions. But the fact of the matter is, you killed the one guy whose entire shtick was sitting down and having conversation. For what he thought. He didn't do anything wrong. He never did anything wrong. He never did anything to merit this. You may believe that he was somehow some kind of dirty Nazi, fascist, racist, sexist, white supremacist, homophobe, blah blah blah, and insert any leftist buzzword here. It doesn't matter because nothing deserves death. Like nothing he's ever said deserves death. And you were so quick to deal out death and judgment to him, and for what to what end? To silence him. But now you reap the whirlwind because you killed the only moderate in the building. Do you think good things are going to happen to you leftists now that the cat is out of the bag? Do you think you're going to be able to put the genie back in that bottle and suddenly cry and bloviate about civility and peace and unity? Nope. You had that chance. You had every opportunity to do that for the past decade and a half. You could have made that happen already. If you really wanted to, you could have made it happen. But you didn't. You didn't. You thought you could be untouched. You thought nobody would respond. You thought, and you were, for the most part, you were right. Because conservatives, and here's why we're better than you, we would have never responded in violence against you like this. When's the last time a conservative took a pot shot at a leftist event? In the past year? In the past 5 years? 10 years? Ever? And get the hell out of here with January 6th if you're going to try to quote that. Fuck you. Ever. When is the last time a conservative took a pot shot like that at a leftist? It doesn't happen. But when was the last time a leftist took a pot shot at a conservative? Butler, Pennsylvania, July of last year. Against a presidential candidate of the United States, of which we still have known absolutely nothing about that guy. And that was one of 2 attempts. The other guy was in the bushes across from the golf course and was found by accident. And how many just this year, just this year, how many transgender psychopaths have shot up a religious institution, shot up a religious school with children inside? Too freaking many. Why do you think that is? Because the left foments death and destruction. They foment this same violent behavior, violent rhetoric that they accuse us of having. They want to try to quote, the FBI statistics, the Attorney General's office, by the way, Merrick Garland's Attorney General, BT dubs, or at least Eric Holder, trying to quote all of that nonsense. The right wingers are actually the violent ones. Like, piss off. When's the last time a right winger erupted into wanton violence like this? Ever. In the past 10 years, 15, 20, name it. Name it. Because it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. But you know what's been happening in the past 4 years? Leftist violence. Specifically leftist violence. And every time mainstream liberals, I'm not even going to say leftists, because the leftists are the extreme wing. We're talking BLM, we're talking Black Lives Matter, we're talking Antifa, those people. But mainstream liberals, you were silent. You said nothing. Absolutely nothing. Only when a gun was to your head, figuratively, did you barely offer a half-hearted apology like a child who got caught stealing candy. You said nothing. You did nothing to tone down the temperature of your rank and file people. You did nothing. You said nothing to them. People in the media, people in Hollywood, people on the news, on the cable box, people on Facebook, doesn't matter. You said nothing. You did not call out this insanity in time. You did not do a goddamn thing to the people who were demonizing everybody that wasn't them. And not for anything that they've done, but for their thoughts, for their beliefs. You whipped yourself up into a frenzy, and you thought that people like me were actually going to hunt you down and throw you in a concentration camp. You made yourself believe that. And worse still, you let other people say that. You let other people believe that. You said nothing against it. You didn't bother to correct them, because to you leftists, to you people on the mainstream liberal left, to you, niceness and kindness, that performative nonsense, that's what you think is most important, not the truth, which is why Charlie Kirk is dead now. Again, there is absolutely no non-political reason for Charlie Kirk to be dead right now. None. Why else would anyone go after him? I'm sorry, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to add 2 and 2 together. You idiots. You idiots. You did this. Charlie Kirk's blood is on your hands. Mainstream liberals, yes, and I know. I cringe every time I hear that, because the left says that all the time, every time there's a school shooting. Oh yeah, Republicans, blood is on your hands because you didn't pass gun control laws. I'm sorry, but every time there's a school shooting, again, it takes place in what? A gun-free zone. The linchpin of gun control. And not once has it prevented a mass shooting, because you're an idiot if you think that a psychopath with a weapon is going to find a hard target. If you think a psychopath with a weapon is going to walk into a police station and start shooting it up, that's not going to happen, because he or she will not be able to use force, that requisite amount of force, to be able to achieve their goal. Ain't going to happen. They'll be gunned down before they even get in the door, as they should. But these same leftist activists are going to go after schools and universities, hospitals, anything, because it's a soft target with no security, and there's not a single person who will fight back. You cannot tell me this is normal. It's not normal, y'all. And as much as you want to bloviate and claim and bitch and moan that it's the right who are the ones amplifying everything, no, you can't say that anymore. Because it is specifically left-wingers who are the ones that are exhibiting the most violent tendencies in the past 5 years. It's you. It is you people that are doing this. I'm sorry if that's hard for you to swallow, but I'm sorry. Meditating is bitter going down. You did this. You did this. And you have the opportunity now to take responsibility. But I'm not holding my breath. I ain't holding my breath. You know why? Because the responses to Charlie Kirk's death have been just as demonic and evil and disgusting as you would think. As you would think. Because these demons are sitting here bragging about it. Bragging about Charlie Kirk. Bragging that he deserved it. Somehow. I don't know how you explain that. I have no clue. I don't know how you justify that. I don't know how you justify just that level of evil. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you live with yourself at night. But somehow you do. Somehow you do. Somehow, so many of you are going to be, many of you from Twitter or whatever, are going to be laying down tonight, having typed out the most vile thing that you can think of. And you're going to sleep the sleep of, you're going to think that you're exactly right. And you're going to sleep the sleep of the just for some reason. Because you're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. You are a piece of shit. But here's the thing. Your days of doing this with no consequences are over. Today alone, libs of TikTok, in addition to countless other accounts, have been purging people from the workforce by the hundreds. Finding doctors, finding political staff members, finding military, even current Secret Service members, teachers, lawyers, community outreach employees, city workers, finding people celebrating this and doxing the ever-living hell out of them to their bosses, making them lose their jobs, making them lose their livelihoods. And you know what? Good. Because the right has been canceled for longer than we have, longer than they have ever known, that these leftists have ever known. This is actual consequence culture. Because here's the big difference between this and cancel culture. And all of these spindly armed, sponge-spined right wingers out there trying to say, well, we don't want to be just like the left. Yeah, we do at this point. Yeah, we do. You know why? Because you use the tactics of the enemy against them, and the enemy ceases to use that tactic. You use the tactics of your enemy against them, they won't know what to do with themselves, because they would never, because they stoop to such level. Because leftists specifically stoop to such incredible levels. They think that you'll never fire back. They think that you'll just sit there and take it. And you know why they think that? It's because we've done it for so goddamn long. For a decade and a half, we have just indulged these people. We have just assumed that this is all just internet Twitter talk. This is all Facebook stuff. These are just trolls and bots and everything. Nope. It ain't just trolls and bots and everything, because this shit bleeds out into the real world. Comes out into the real world. This is not just Twitterverse beefs. This is not just internet drama. This is real now. This is real world shit. And we cannot put our heads in the sand and pretend like this does not matter anymore. This is the time to get mean. This is the time to radicalize. This is the time to start fighting back. And I don't even know what that looks like. We're going to find out, though. You're going to find out what that looks like. You're going to find out what men and women with nothing else to lose look like. Because, may I remind you, Charlie Kirk is the most middle-of-the-road Republican that has existed on the planet. His views are not rare. His views are shared by the majority of the country. You know how I know that? Because we elected Trump in a landslide just last year. In a landslide victory, we roundly, as a country, soundly rejected the entire leftist identity politics, Marxist subhuman nastiness, and we kicked him to the curb. We said, we don't want you around anymore. Bye. And I thought that was it. But I should have known better than the rest of my laurels. But the left, instead of taking that opportunity to be introspective, to think about why they lost, to think about what about them made themselves so impalatable to the electorate at writ large in the entire country, what about us made that decision so difficult, or at least so easy? What made these people not want to vote for us? Instead of thinking along those lines, they decided, no, everyone else is the problem. No, I'm sorry. There's no saving the modern left in the United States right now. Because you killed the only guy who was going to have a conversation. You killed the only guy who was going to sit down and be a moderate. You killed the only guy who wanted to talk. That's what you did. And again, mainstream liberals, middle of the line Democrats, you did this. If you did not participate in this rhetoric directly, you allowed it to keep taking place. Just think about the last friend that you had that demonized Republicans and called them Nazis and said that they deserve what's coming to them. Think about the person that you just scrolled by and didn't call out. That's on you. You contributed to this entire spirit, to the destruction of our society right now by demonizing more than half the country. A significant portion of the country, most of the country. You demonized most of the country. And again, instead of taking a step back and asking yourself, why did we lose? You decided to blame everybody else. You decided to ramp up the rhetoric. You decided to make it worse. Well, in the words of Wyatt Earp from Tombstone, you called down the thunder. Well, now you've got it. Hell's coming with me. You tell him hell's coming with me. It's coming. Because we indulged you for too long. You will never win another election. Watching J.D. Vance be a pallbearer for Charlie Kirk's coffin not 1 hour ago, as they touched back down in Arizona, I believe, brought his body home. You have J.D. Vance being the pallbearer for Charlie Kirk. He just won 2028. You know why? Because you couldn't shut up. You couldn't not be crazy for 2 seconds. You couldn't not go absolutely apeshit insane for 2 seconds. And now you've awoken the wrath of the people who just wanted to be left alone. That's all we ever wanted. That's all Trump represented. This idea that we will be left alone and actually be able to make a living and being able to afford some groceries and gas and make a decent living. That's what Trump represented. That's what Trump still represents. And I think it's going to happen. I believe that the gas prices we had around 2019, I think they're going to come back. 100%. I think the law and order that we had during that time is going to come back. Because Trump is a hard ass. And he got radicalized by you taking a pot shot at him last year, last summer. A year ago, we could have been a completely different country. In fact, right now, if we would have had if we would have had a Kamala Ding Dong presidency, oh, they'd be rioting the streets like that would make 2020 look like a fucking cakewalk. You really think that any of this is gonna? You really think that we're gonna roll over now? No, 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 no. And you don't get to try and tone down the rhetoric anymore. You don't get to call for peace. You don't get to call for any kind of talk, any kind of discourse, any discussion, because you killed the guy who was having the discourse. It's over for you. It's done. We have no stomach to even look at you anymore. And in fact, the right is already responding in kind to these agitators, as well they should. And in fact, just yesterday in Idaho City, there was a vigil being kept for Charlie Kirk. Candlelight vigil. And some piece of shit on a scooter decided to ride on by and say, fuck Charlie Kirk. 30 people beat the shit out of him. And in fact, just today, I saw, what was it? A guy was trying to start shit at maybe like an Arizona university, somewhere around there, another university, saying Charlie deserved it. It's only the left that gets away with this stuff, by the way. You want to talk about toning down the rhetoric? It's you guys that are making this happen. It's you guys that are saying stuff like Charlie deserved it, selling shirts that show his wound, that show his gunshot wound. Yeah, I've seen that. I've reported it. I hope it gets taken down. You're the ones that are glorying in it. You're the ones that are glorying in the death of a milquetoast Republican that could have been anybody. That could have been me. That could have been my dad. Could have been my brother. Could have been my other brother. Could have been my coworker. Could have been my uncle. Could have been your uncle. Could have been your coworker, your niece, your nephew, anybody with any kind of mainstream Republican idea, any kind of mainstream, not even Republican, conservative ideas. You have demonstrated that you want them dead. Yesterday, that's what you showed us, writ large, all across the country. You showed us you wanted us dead for our ideas, for what we believed, not what we've done, not what we have ever wanted other people to do. Because now, if the right had taken a very like Hitlerian stance, mustache man, and said we will put all trans and brown people in camps, then I would understand. But that's never been said, not once. Not once has anybody said, for your immutable characteristics, we will remove you from society. We will remove you from existence. Not one person on the mainstream right has said that or advocated that. Not one. But you got people like Hassan Piker, the socialist hero of the left that Twitch still refuses to ban, having dozens of other accounts just like him, calling for that exact thing. Does anybody remember 2020 during COVID, when you had an entire contingency of leftists say that if you didn't want the vaccine, if you didn't want to mask up and do social distancing, that you should be in a camp? Australia actually did it. You remember that time that the entirety of the leftist establishment, who were made afraid by a flu, decided that they thought they were going to snitch on their neighbors. These same people who I guarantee will probably fantasize and flick their bean off these leftist white women and imagine a world in Poland in which they were hiding Jews. No, when you behave like the snitches, you are not a Schindler, you are not a Geese, you are not any of the people that hid Anne Frank or anybody else. You are not Vad Yashem, the righteous among the nations. Not happening. You would have been a collaborator. That's what radicalized us. Because we saw how susceptible to these people were to the radicalization of the media and the media and Hollywood and an entire political wing. We saw it in no uncertain terms. We bore witness to it. And you know what? You have a debt to pay. You have a debt that is outstanding for the past 5 years. Because I still remember 2020. In my hometown in Oklahoma, we had rioting a mile away from where my brother was living. And he said he still has nightmares to this day. of these leftist animals being given free reign by Hollywood, by the media, and by an entire political establishment. Oh, they're just rioting for their rights. Okay, what did the Baskin Robbins ever do to you? What did the GameStop ever do to you? No. You spurred on agitators for an entire summer. Every single major city saw major left-wing violence. People died. People lost their livelihoods. Black people lost their livelihoods. You want to go to Minneapolis and see that one lady address the camera saying, if you really thought Black Lives Matter, why did you attack my store? I didn't do anything to you. But the left doesn't see things that way. The left doesn't see people as people. They see them as pawns in their own bullshit gay power games. That's all they've ever seen is power games. That's all they ever will see is power games. But guess what? Your time for being indulged is over. It's gone. It's done. You're sorry. Put a nail in the coffin. It's over. Because I was saying earlier, there was a guy who was on a university campus who is thrown into the fountain by a group of students. You never see that. You especially never see the guy walking by in a scooter in Idaho City saying, "Fuck Charlie Kirk." You don't see that. Him getting the absolute shit kicked out of him. And guess what? You also have never seen accountability like the kind that you just brought upon yourselves. You have activated the weaponized autism of the internet, the mainstream internet, and your time is growing very short. Very short. You better get your affairs in order. You better start saving up a little bit just to weather the loss of your income. Sorry, you brought this on yourselves. And you know what? I'm seeing it everywhere from game development, comic book creators. In fact, DC just fired their true writer of the Red Hood #1. Piece of shit never finished his book. One of the developers of Ghost of Yotai, the sequel to probably one of the best games of all time, in my opinion, Ghost of Tsushima, was just purged from Sucker Punch. Because again, same thing, cheered for Charlie Kirk's murder. Now, there are a dozen more developers on that panel, in that entire company who are doing the same thing specifically for that game. So don't buy Ghost of Yotai because that one sacrificial lamb they offered up is not enough. It's not enough. You are going to see a blowback, violently or otherwise. I don't know. I don't know what this is going to look like. I know I'm ready. And I know I'm done trying to be peaceful. I'm not being peaceful anymore. Nobody is. You've activated the worst parts of ourselves that we will want to pretend we would pretend that we don't have to draw out. Because it's not easy to completely disassociate, to shut your brain down and go into fight mode. I don't want to do that. I've never wanted to do that. And I guarantee you half the people that you meet on the street don't want to do it either. They would rather not have to access the mean part of their brain that has to see people as threats and respond violently to those threats to their lives. Because here's the thing, leftists, you have proven this week you do not care about us. You have proven this week that you would cheer for us dying. Mainstream Republicans, you have proven that you want us dead. Well, guess what? It cuts both ways. Turnabout is fair play. Now, here's the thing. You know what's great? The past 2 nights, what's been wonderful? The difference between you and me and you subhumans. Look at your door right now. Do you see any reports of violence and rioting on the streets? Not a single report? Not a single brick thrown through a business? Not a single mob of 10 or 20, 30, 40, hundreds of people rioting in front of leftist establishments like, I don't know, any Democrat headquarters? Have you seen that this week? No. But if the roles are reversed, if it was like Ben Crump who was assassinated on a college campus or something like that, or I don't know, I don't even know. I don't even know what grassroots, what like grassroots minority you think that you have on your side. I really don't know. Cory Booker, someone like that. Do you think if he was assassinated that there wouldn't be violence? You would commit violence. You commit violence at the drop of a hat. You committed violence for the death of a felon, for the death of a felon piece of shit who died of a drug overdose. You killed people over him. We're not killing people over Charlie Kirk. We're not. I can't make any promises to say that we on the right won't. We're not going to start anything. You can be goddamn sure we're going to finish it. If we're trying to hold a rally or another candlelight vigil for Charlie Kirk, any kind of gathering like that, and you want to show up and start shit, oh, I wish you would. I can't wait. I can't wait to see that happen to you. I can't wait. The time for civility is over. It's gone. You had your chance. You had your chance. You could have just stopped. You could have just calmed the hell down. But throwing up your hands ain't going to work. Ain't going to work anymore. You did this. You did this. You called down the thunder. Well, now you've got it. You want us to see, you want to see us as inhuman? You want to respond to us violently for just having conversations like Charlie Kirk? Huh. Oh, I can't wait to watch you get your comeuppance. I can't wait to watch all of you get what you fucking deserve. What do you get when you put our backs up against the wall? People who just want to be left alone. People who never wanted to fight. People who never wanted violence. You were going to hell. You were going to get sent to hell so fast. And you know why? Because we have something to protect. We have something to protect. We have livelihoods. We have families. We have our own skin to protect, which you now showed us in no uncertain terms is now under attack and is now at risk. Oh boy. See, Americans, we can be rowdy at times. We can be out of control at certain points. Of course we can. We've always been that way. We've been a rowdy bunch, of course. But if there's one thing you never want to do, is present a threat to us. Attack us. Anybody remember Pearl Harbor? People were self-deleting because they got prescribed as 1F when they enlisted soldiers, men. They were offing themselves because they couldn't serve. You just attacked the one man who wanted to have a conversation. You attacked him and you killed him. This is the way that I have never seen so much mainstream response to him dying like this. Accounts that I follow on Instagram, Facebook, X, whatever, that are not political in any way, shape, or form, that are not even gone near this or remotely touched this, they're all mourning Charlie Kirk. They are all commenting on it. I have never seen this level of response, even when Trump got shot. You have awoken a sleeping giant that you will never be able to tame. Mainstream people are saying how horrible this is. We remember blood very vividly. I still do. And I will never forget that. I made myself bear witness to it because I knew I was witnessing history. I knew that this was a Martin Luther King or Franz Ferdinand moment, if you know your World War I history. I knew history when I was looking at it. I knew it. I knew it was happening. I knew that this was the turning point. And Charlie Kirk had no idea how prescient the name of his organization would be. It is the turning point. There's no going back. There ain't no going back. Leftist, I'm sorry that you did this to yourselves. But you had every chance to not do it. You had every chance to lower the temperature of the country all the way around. You had every chance to tell your politicians to calm the hell down. You had every opportunity to tell the people that you elected to chill. You had every opportunity to vote them out too. But you didn't. You didn't. You didn't. You voted them in for more and more terms, and now you're here. Here's the thing about leftists you have to understand. And I don't really know what's going to come next. I really don't. But it ain't going to be good for the left. It ain't going to be good for the left. Good luck winning. Good luck with the midterms. All we have to do is show you a picture of Charlie Kirk, and show the general public a picture of Charlie Kirk and say, this is what they want for you. This is what they're going to do to you. Good luck winning another midterm. Good luck winning the presidency. Because all we have to do is show JD Vance being the pallbearer for Charlie Kirk's casket coming off the plane. I don't know what's going to come next. I don't know. But you better believe I'll be in the ranks. And guess what? There are going to be so many of us you won't be able to count. Because you didn't just piss off the right wing. You pissed off the moderates. You kill a father in front of his child, a family man with a wife and 2 children. You gun him down, and we have to watch as his blood is spilled. We have to watch a man die in front of us in the most public way possible, on a live stream, no less, because TPUSA broadcasts all of their events on a live stream. Mainstream news picked this up instantly because obviously, and people who are not political at all of a sudden realize this is horrific. This is over. This is no longer a matter of peace and getting along. No, you declared war. You declared war on people who just want to be left alone, who have something to defend. You declared war on them. And you gave them no recourse but to fight you. But here's the funny part that you didn't realize. We have something to defend, which means we're meaner than you. And there have been people out there who have been preparing for a day like this for years. For years. Food supplies, ammo, time at the range, fighting, hand-to-hand Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, fighting, tactics, all of that. You have awoken people who now want to fight you. I don't know where this leads, but I know for a fact it is not going to end well for you. Not at all. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. The people who are behind this, and I hope they find this man, and I hope whoever did it, which I don't know. Who knows? The manhunt's still ongoing as of right now. I hope they find him. I hope they strap him to a metal chair and put him in a room with a car battery, a dull carpet blade, and some wires and some rope. Maybe some barbed wire. With someone mean enough who has no qualms about hurting people. I hope they do that. They won't. They'll give this person due process, unfortunately. But this is the kind of thing that you need to drag this person before a court and flog him. Figuratively, literally, I don't know. Cause him pain. And anybody who sponsored him, because this guy did not work alone. There were people behind him who clearly paid him, clearly put him up to this, and I don't know who that was. I don't know if it was maybe some foreign agency. Maybe it was one of those accelerationist, violent cults that you hear about on Twitter who are inhabit the dark web. I don't know, but there's money behind it. There's influence. There's absolutely someone behind this who had absolutely someone else behind it who put this piece of shit up to it. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe he just did it on his own. Either way, we will know everything that we need to know once we find him. And we're going to find him. We're going to find him. And it's not going to be good. Because all we have to do is hold up that piece of shit's mugshot to the left and be like, this is who you are. This is who you are. You had a chance to change and to not become this person, but you couldn't do it. You made mainstream people your enemy. And I'm sorry, hell's coming with us. Hell's coming with us. We're not putting up with agitators anymore. We're not putting up with people who are just trolling us. We're taking your internet beef seriously. We know what you mean we know that you mean what you say. We know that. There is no getting away from that. There is absolutely no backtracking. You caused this, and you have nobody to blame but yourselves. Absolutely nobody. And I'm sorry. I ain't gonna start no fights, but I'm gonna finish it. And Theo Snodgrass actually today he was talking about it quite emotionally, and I respect him for actually very much respect his perspective. Say that 10 times fast. And he said this isn't going to be good. This isn't going to be good. The temperature of the country that has been raised, and this isn't going to result in anything. Well, not for a while. I think it will calm. I think it will calm the temperature of the country, but it needs to reach it. But the boiling point has been reached. It needs to boil for a minute. Because there's one thing that bullies cannot stand. And all these people, make no mistake, they are Marxist bullies, Marxist-Leninist bullies who want you dead. All these people, the only way bullies stop is when you fight them. When you stand up and you say to them, I'm not going to be intimidated by you. When you stand up to them, they back down. Why? Because they're cowards at heart. They can't have any sort of dialogue with you. They can't live with you. They can't convince you of their positions. They cannot coexist with you. They have to force their fist down your throat. They have to punch you in the face. They have to assault you. They have to push you down. They have to steal everything that you ever loved. And they'll laugh at you while doing it. The way to make them stop is by force. I'm sorry. That is the way of life. And I'm not even going to say I don't want that. I'm not even going to say that I don't want any kind of conflict or anything. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. Because I do. Because the left has had a debt from 2020 even further on back. The left has taken on a debt, and it's time to pay it. They did this to us. It is clear that this is not beef. This is not just internet beef. These aren't just empty threats. This is real. This is real, and it's here, y'all. It is here. I'm sorry to say, but it's here. The war's here. You can either lead, follow, or get out of the way. And I'm sorry, but this needs to happen. This needs to happen because the left cannot be allowed to continue to kill people like this willy-nilly. I'm sorry, accept it. The war's here. It's here. It ain't cold anymore. It ain't cold. It's going to get hot real quick. It's warm. It's going to get hot much faster. And it should. It should, because bullies need to be taught a lesson. Bullies need to be responded to. Bullies need to be knocked down into the dirt and be made to eat their teeth. There is no getting away from this. And this is not hyperbolic. This would have been considered hyperbolic on Monday or Tuesday, but not now. Not now. Because you showed us who you wanted. You showed us what you wanted. You showed us that you wanted us dead. This isn't going to be fun to watch. And you've pissed off the people who are not going to give you any mercy. You pissed off a bunch of people who are vengeful now and who will not show you any mercy. None whatsoever. Nor should they. You're the kind of person that encouraged the Charlie Kirk's killer. If you're the kind of person that encouraged all of this, and didn't say anything, didn't speak up, I'm sorry. You had your chance. You had your chance. I wish we didn't live in this world. I really do. I wish we could just live in a world where we could just hang out and have fun and be cool. If it was a world run by right-wingers, you would have that. You would have that. Yeah, we'd make fun of you for being gay or make fun of you for being a trans or make fun of you for whatever. We'd make race jokes. But guess what? Among the right wing, you will find an incredible diversity of thought and a diversity of thought, of ideas, of skin color, of background. You're going to find a really great collection of people. Because freedom, liberty, being allowed to do what you want is a uniting factor. Those principles of basic conservative thought, of being allowed to just do it, of being allowed to live as you wish, that's what Charlie Kirk fought for. Those principles are exactly what Charlie Kirk fought for. The importance of family, the importance of culture, the importance of the importance of unity, the importance of conversation. In fact, he was quite prophetic when he said, when violence starts, when discussion ends. But yesterday, the discussion ended. The discussion closed forcefully and violently and viscerally. The entire world knows what you did. And the entire world will look at the coming fight, how in whatever form it takes, and be with us. And be with us. Because you showed yourselves to be the bad guys. I'm sorry. You had your chance. The time for this is over. But I really appreciate you coming in, all of you who chimed in. I will mind losing my voice. But tonight I'm just going to go to sleep. I'm going to go to sleep and wake up tomorrow happy. I'm going to keep living. That's what Charlie would have wanted me to do, live in liberty and live in freedom. Thank you all for joining me. We'll see you next time.